Hi everybody and welcome to today's office. We are finally at the last day of June. I'm pretty much thinking that's where we're at, last day of June. I have a lot of information for you guys today, and so many people have been who watch this video and watch the series. So many of you have been asking, like, what is Mercury retrograde? I know you talk about it a lot during the last couple videos. I was talking about Mercury retrograde, the eclipses, the new moons, what to do and what not to do. Today I have a lot of information. I have the world information. I have the random information. I got the personal information, and now I got Mercury retrograde information. So Mercury retrograde, what is it? A lot of you have been like writing emails and being like, I don't understand what Mercury retrograde is. So I picked out some stuff online. I'm going to read you a little bit of things just to clarify it so that you know exactly what it is, what it's not, just to give you a little bit of history. But if you really want to go in depth into it, just go on Google and type in what is Mercury retrograde. But I'm going to go over a little bit with you. So now we have the Mercury retrograde dates. So you want to mark these on your calendar coming up. So we had a retrograde from February 17th to March 10th of 2020. These are the 2020 dates, by the way. Write them down, get a little paper, write them down. We have one that we're in now, June 18th to July 12th, and we still have another eclipse hitting, and we had two that just left and a new moon. So we have so much going on. Mercury is not only in retrograde, but we have 7 other planets in retrograde. Okay, so what is Mercury retrograde? Because I tend to go off on tangents, I wanted to look at some information to kind of just pare it down so that I can give you the basics. So it says, what is Mercury retrograde? This is from the Farmer's Almanac, just so you guys know where it's coming from, not coming from me. I kind of gave you what I said it was last time, kind of told you the more advanced techniques with it. This is the basics. So due to the way our planet's orbit interacts with the orbits of other planets, they might sometimes appear to be traveling backward through the night sky with respect to the zodiac. It's in fact an illusion. The planet Mercury doesn't actually go backward, but we call it retrograde motion because it's an optical illusion. Kind of like when you are driving a car and you pass the car, it looks like it's going forward, but if you're kind of going at a different speed than the car wheels actually look like it's going backwards, but it's really not. That's kind of like the same effect of the planet Mercury or any planet that goes into retrograde motion. The planet only appears to be going backward. It's not actually going backward. Okay, so Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year. It appears as if Mercury is traveling backwards. So we refer to these periods as time when Mercury is in retrograde motion, or simply Mercury retrograde. These times in particular were traditionally associated with confusions, delays, and frustration. So let me tell you about confusion, delay, and frustration. Yesterday, out of all the days of the retrograde so far, was the worst with Mercury retrograde. So if you guys were frustrated yesterday, had issues with communication, Mercury retrograde affects your emails, your electronics, your communication, misunderstandings with people. Sometimes things come out of your mouth and you don't get a chance to edit and be like, oh my God, I didn't mean that, but somebody takes it a certain way and you didn't really mean it that way, but now they're offended. Yeah, Mercury retrograde. So just be careful with that. So because of all this mental confusion from the planet appearing to go backwards, we tend to not be very clear in terms of starting new projects. Okay, so you're thinking you want to do this grand new project, because you're a little foggy and not clear, and things are kind of slowed down and things are confusing, and there's a lot of mishaps with a lot of things and electronics and misunderstandings and emails and communication. Odds are you're not going to be seeing clearly with starting new projects. That's why they tell you not to begin new projects in a retrograde period. So you think Mercury retrograde, email blunders, frazzled travel plans. Luckily, not a lot of people are traveling right now, but if you were to tell me, hey, I'm going to go take a flight to the Bahamas, and I'm getting on the plane in the retrograde, I would say, okay, just prepare for travel delays, prepare to maybe not fly out on time, or maybe having issues when you get to the airport. A lot of frustration. And if you know this is going on, then you don't get as frustrated because you're like, you can just blame it on the grade. That's what I tell people to do. You know, it's kind of like Mercury retrograde is kind of, if I could encompass it in one thing, it would be this. This is what I could say it is. If I could just put it in a little glass jar. You go to, you're on E, okay? You're driving and you need gas, all right? And the first place you pull up to, all of a sudden, none of the pumps like they're all like the plastic yellow bags are on them. So you can't get gas there. So you see a place down a block away, you pull in there, there's people getting gas, you know the gas works. But the guy that pulls out, you get to that pump and that pump won't take your credit card. Yep, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with the electronics of that specific pump. That's Mercury retrograde. Most of the time, these little frustrations could cause people to flip out. The good thing is, Mercury retrograde, any mishaps or miscommunication or things that happen in a retrograde could be fixed. Usually things are worked out. But why be uncomfortable if you don't have to be? So the planet can like each planet rules something, okay? So the planet Mercury rules communications, travels, contracts, automobiles. So usually you got to make sure your car is checked during a retrograde, making sure you get your service done. Usually some car issues will come up during the retrograde. So when Mercury's retrograde, remain flexible, allow extra time for travel, and avoid signing contracts. I can't tell you how many people call me recently saying, well, I'm signing a contract. Okay, double and triple check it. They're like, yeah, there were some issues with it. Don't do it. If you don't have to do it, wait another couple weeks. So double check your email responses and check in with reservations before you take that trip. I remember somebody went on a trip. They got to the place and the people had no knowledge of their reservation. They had no room for them. They were thousands of miles away. They went to check in and the name wasn't there. Apparently there was an issue with the system. That's the kind of stuff that happens. Double and triple check. Review your projects and plan at these times, but wait. You can do planning, you can do research, you can move things ahead, but wait until Mercury is direct to make any final decisions, okay? So you can't stop your life. You can't be like, oh, I have to stop my whole life. But you plan ahead, you have a backup plan, you have plan A and B, you double, triple check, and be prepared for angry, annoying people and miscommunication and people to piss you off, or do you think that they're doing stuff to piss you off? So that's the thing. Your perception might be a little off. Especially yesterday, people were crazy. Let me tell you, just driving. Like I don't even get out and drive, and people are like nuts. So some people tend to blame the Mercury retrograde for bad things that happen in their lives. Instead, you don't want to do that because it's happening to everybody. You want to, this is a good time to sit back, take a rest, review where you've put your energy in your life, think about where you want to put your energy in the future, and a very good time to reconnect with old people from your past that you haven't talked to in a while, reconnecting with old family and friends. Wonderful experience, reconnecting with old clients, that kind of thing. You're going to see a lot of people coming back from your past. Hopefully it's good people coming back from your past and not bad people. Not that people are bad, but you know what I mean. So for example, where are you putting your energy? So if family, faith are important to you, are you putting your energy there, or are you just overextending yourself? So take a moment to reflect. Mercury retrograde can be an excellent time to take a step back and reanalyze who you are, what you're doing, but do refrain from making any drastic changes until the retrograde has ended. Now the retrograde officially ends on the 12th of July, but there is within the retrograde calendar, so you want to look on Google and get a calendar, there's direct stations and then there's shadow periods. So you don't want to, like, those 3 days before retrograde starts can be very tricky. And usually the day the retrograde ends is usually when all the systems crash. Okay, so you'll see that now. There might be, if you've seen in the past, and I've noticed this in the past, where Facebook or Instagram or Twitter made like significant changes to their platform during a retrograde, it caused major confusion. I think that's happening now. I know I told you about some things happening with Facebook. Apparently it's happening now. So I want to get into that. So those are some of the things. Now, I want to go over what the retrograde affects right now, okay, in the quarantine, because it's a little bit different. So let's look here. All right. Now, the good thing is during this quarantine period, during this period of retrograde, this one isn't going to be as intense as it usually is, just really annoying. So if you are hormonal, like all us women can be, expect that your hormones are going to be raging, okay, in a retrograde. You might be flying off the handle. Just lock yourself in a room. So this transit that we're in, which will occur till July 12th, actually overlaps with this year's Venus retrograde, which may cause the first week of the retrograde to feel extremely intense. So we're not in the first week anymore. We're kind of in the second. So if you remember that first week from July 18th till the 25th, that might have been an intense week for you with relationships. Okay. This retrograde occurs in the sign of Cancer, which is a cardinal sign associated with leadership. So I'm going to go over my world events, and you're going to see how that kind of connects with the leadership things that I'm feeling in this retrograde. So we're going to see current leadership issues we've been going through exacerbate even more due to the cardinal quality of Cancer this July. So this could be especially true around the time where Mercury forms a square with Mars on July 8th and just days after an intense lunar eclipse. That happens exactly on the 4th of July weekend. So remember, I told you, you got to make those final internal emotional decisions of where you're headed and the work that you've done up until this point. You were at the crossroads before this retrograde. Now you have to decide who you want in your life, who you don't, where you want to go, what you want to do, what big decisions you want to make as to how you want to make your life to be. How do you want your life to be moving ahead? This is kind of like this past 2 or 3 months has been almost like giving birth, and last week you had the baby. Okay, so now you have a new life, and I'm going to talk about that. Okay. All right, so this is the planet of rebellion and freedom. The first of these sextiles occurred on June 5th, which is when thousands of people marched the streets asking for justice. So it's all connected, okay? The second occurs today on June 30th during the Mercury retrograde, okay? So we'll continue to witness citizens standing up for law enforcement. We may even see videos of this, but I feel like it's dying down a little bit because Mercury is tied to tech and communication. We're not getting all the information that's really going on. So Mercury forms a sextile to Uranus on July 22nd, bringing an end to the battle or a turning point along this journey. So remember, I told you, mid-July, the doorway is closing, okay? You have to have your decisions made by that point. A lot of people are still confused, even though I'm trying to give you definite instructions here. This isn't just in a retrograde I'm giving you instructions. I've been giving you instructions for months. Okay, so don't tell me I'm not telling you what to do. We've been planning for this. If you haven't done your work and you're not making those choices that you need to make that are healthy for you, remember I talked about the division, high energy, low energy, there's no in between. You can't be in limbo with anything right now. When I talk about that, that's not Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde affects communication, emails, contracts, starting new projects. No, don't do it. I've been really clear. Don't do it, okay? If you do it, there's going to be confusion. In terms of your process this whole year, we're at an ending point. We're at a point where the doorway is closing. I've warned you for 2 months, okay? And then you tell me you're confused. Well, you only have a week to decide. You only have a week, okay? So I'm being very clear. You have a week. If you're trying to make a big decision in your life, this isn't a new decision. This is decisions internally that affect how you want the rest of the next 15 years to be. and you've already done the work, or you didn't do the work up to this point in time. If you haven't made a decision before the second eclipse hit last month, you have until July 7th. I'm giving you that deadline because July 11th is really the deadline. But you have until July 7th to make an internal shift, an internal decision on kind of, if you look at this as a symbol, you're either planting a new tree or you're pruning a tree. You're cutting off the dead branches. You're landscaping your life. What has to go? Where are the dead trees? Rip them out. Get the backhoe in. If you have to just get rid of the whole yard, get rid of the whole yard. You know what I mean? See, the Italian's coming out now. Because I'm feeling so retrograde. People aren't getting it, right? So I'm trying to tell you that there's nothing I can do to help you change the decisions you make before July 7th. So do them now, okay? This isn't a retrograde thing. This is a life thing. All right, does that make sense? All right. I'm glad you like it, Michelle. Thank you for saying that. I'm a little loud today. All right, so let's ask yourself a couple questions around this time. Is what you've been doing working? Is the way you've been living working? Does something need to be adjusted? You may be surprised at what comes to the surface. In the sign of Cancer, which is where we're at right now, Mercury retrograde can bring up old wounds and issues that we haven't been able to discuss or deal with in the past. So remember, I'm talking about those internal changes. They involve anything from old wounds to child separation to divorces you may have in your families to any type of trauma that you have run away from your whole life and distracted yourself from and found yourself going in cycles around and around and around in your career, relationships, and your health. Okay, what is at the root of that? What are you running away from? And what people are you bringing into your life that trigger that? And how are you being codependent? Okay, how are you saying no to things that don't align with you? Are you still like fawning over people that might not be good for you? What are you doing? Just get, I'm telling you, you could tell me till you're blue in the face. I understand why I have my issues. I understand. I could tell you for myself. I was adopted, okay, which I feel is a blessing for me, a blessing in my life. But anytime, whether any adoptee experiences an abandonment from a bond with their mother that they were in the womb. So it doesn't matter if an adoptee had a great life or a bad life or whatever. They could have the greatest life. They're still going to have the abandonment wound. And so everybody, I'm sure all of you that are here have had some sort of dysfunction or something in your life that caused some sort of separation from yourself and who you truly are. This is the time, these are the decisions I'm talking about. If you have in your life up until this point just kind of lived life for other people and not for yourself, this is the time to make those big jumps. A lot of times, me included, you make decisions in your life to keep people around that are toxic or that people that just take and you're giving all the time, or you just feel bad for people. You're a helper. You want to help people, but by the time you're done helping them, you're drained, okay? But yet you're telling me, or you call me and say, well, I just can't cut them out because they've been friends for 30 years or they're a family. And now's the time you have to take care of yourself. When you respect yourself and your boundaries, you're going to attract people and situations and the respect of those people when you tell them, hey, I can't do this. I can't help you because I'm exhausted. I'm drained. A lot of you are very sensitive. A lot of you are very emotional, very sensitive. And so you kind of sometimes put other people above yourself. And this comes from trying to give yourself a sense of self-worth because something didn't make you feel okay during those times of disruption in your earlier life. Okay, excuse me. So we're in for quite a ride over the next few weeks, but keep your head up, change is coming. All right, so that's my Mercury retrograde thing. I hope you guys understood it. All right, so here are my messages, okay? Carol, wonderful. You want reciprocation? If anybody wrote a 3-word sentence that described what I'm talking about that I can't really get out because this Mercury retrograde and I'm going off on a tangent once again, reciprocation, I want reciprocation. Carol, you just took everything I said and you put it into 3 words. What you invest in other people should be reciprocated to you. So you shouldn't invest more than other people are willing to invest in you, okay? Because if you're doing that, it means you're looking to get a feeling that you're okay. There's an exchange for that. Because if you're doing it at the expense of yourself, it means that there's a hole there you're trying to fill by giving and pleasing people. But one day you wake up and realize that person's never pleased. I really can't help this person because I do it this time. And then there's another drama. There's another chaos. There's something else. And you think, oh, well, they'll change. But then there's something else. All right. Do you guys understand? It's like, why are you putting yourself, Carol? Yes. Avoid meaning that like there's kind of a darkness in the spirit from whatever separation, whatever trauma you experience, whatever dysfunction that's causing you to want to fill that void with love or somebody to accept you or somebody to like you. So it's not really from the space of I filled my own energy and I'm giving because I want to. I'm giving because, you know, I want to serve someone else or I want to help someone else. Most of the time you're thinking you're doing that, but when you're in these situations, you're doing that because you don't want somebody to not like you or be mad at you. You want to be accepted. You feel like if you help, they'll be your friend. You'll get some respect. So it is selfish if you're doing it because you're drained and you can't do it, but you're still doing it anyway. There's a reason that you're doing it. Okay, so now, because everybody's paranoid in Mercury retrograde and we're in a pandemic, and I'm going to talk about what's going on with that, okay? Every one of you is going to be like, oh, Marisa's talking about me. Or some of you might even get mad at me and think, she's talking about me. She's tuning into me. I'm not tuning into any of you. I'm just telling you what's going on. Because I'm sure somebody will like send me an email, be like, are you talking about me? Did I do that? No. I'm talking about the energy that's going on in the world, okay? The energy that's going on with everybody. So this is not directed toward any one of you. I love you all. Some of my friends are on here, so I'm not talking to anyone specifically. So I'm talking about stuff I do, okay? I'm talking about myself too. I've done this. I do this a lot. And I realize if I don't have the energy to give out, that it's actually harmful to me to do it. It's harmful to my energy to be on E and to just give for the sake of giving, okay? So really, really important. Thanks, Carol, so much for your compliment. Obviously I don't plan what I'm going to say. I did plan it out. I planned it out so I didn't go off on these tangents, but that's what happens when the universe gives me information and then I go off. So I'm trying to stay organized here at the office. I'm trying to do that, but then I get inspired. I get loud, I get Italian, and this is what happens, right? Okay, so let me just see what some of you are saying. Okay, let's see. See, Bonnie, great. You agree 100%. Just went through it last week. I bet you every single one of you people on this feed understands what I talk about. Elise, you got a t-shirt on the topic. Did you really? Could I see the t-shirt? I want you to send me a picture. That's awesome. All right. Okay, you've been trying, Bebecita, been trying to reach out to your biological father for years after finding him. He ignores me, so that makes sense. Oh, of course. Of course. I'm sure that that is devastating for you. It's hard. These things are very, very hard. But you know what? That does affect you, and that puts a void inside of you thinking, maybe I'm not okay if my own biological father doesn't want to talk to me. No, you're fine. You're just fine. There's something wrong with somebody if they can't acknowledge somebody that they brought into the world, okay? There's nothing wrong with you. You're not flawed. You're not a failure. But as a child, you take that into adulthood and think you're flawed. And you have to make up for that by having other people, by pleasing other people and thinking that you're going to be okay if you give all of yourself and more. And you know what? It's like people could be vultures. They're just going to take because you keep giving. They don't care about your self-care. And they're not going to like you anymore because you're doing it. They're going to say, oh, I could get over on her. I can drain her. I'll feel better. You know? Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about me. You know what I mean? Like your friends, your true friends, okay? Your true family, your true friends, the people that you feel you're going to call, and you know what? You could talk about yourself, and it doesn't have to be, I'm going to give you this, you give me that. I'm going to give you this, you give me that. And you don't feel a pulling. You don't feel a pulling at your soul because somebody just wants something from you all the time. Imagine being a medium and being codependent. Okay, that's my life. Maybe that's why I got into this job. Imagine. So I have this, most of my life had doing what I was talking about to you, just draining myself for other people. And then I have this job. So imagine people see me around. Oh, can you read me? Can you do this for me? Can you do it? It's like, I can't even be a person sometimes. So I had to develop like strict boundaries. Like I am a person. My name is Marisa. I am a human being. I am not just a medium that's here for your resource. Or like, because I just don't tell people what I do anymore half the time. I'll go to the store. Hey, what do you do for a living? I work for CVS. I paint the lines on the side of the highway. I'm in construction. I wear a hard hat. That's what I've told people that. I told them I paint the lines on the side of the highway. But the people are like, I have to be a person. You have to be a person. Okay? So this is the shift I'm talking about for you. And some of you might think this is not important, but this is very important because these are the decisions you have to make before July 7th. This is what I'm talking about. And Carol put it so nicely there. So I'm going to go into the world messages, okay? And then, because I could go on about this for a whole hour because I feel so passionately about you guys finally realizing your worth. And you know what? You're going to get more respect if you start putting your boundaries down. And you know what? If people don't respect them, then they don't respect you. Okay? If people aren't respect, or they're really bad at respecting boundaries, you just don't get it. You might, if it's like your husband or something, it's men. Sometimes they don't get it. You might have to tell them a couple times. You might just say, if you want to sit down at your breakfast table and not have somebody, your husband, bother you with tasks for like 10 minutes while you're eating your breakfast and trying to drink your coffee, you might have to say it every day. They don't understand yelling. They don't hear you. Even you can yell as much as you want. They don't hear you. So you just might have to say every day, okay, it's my quiet time. You might have to walk away. Some people, you have to train them with your boundaries. Okay? So I spend a lot of energy getting passionate, and then I'm like, okay, did I just go off like a raving idiot? But no, I feel it was important information because this is what you need to decide. I couldn't put it into words, but I just found the words, and Carol gave me the words. So thank you, Carol. All right, so the world energy, I know I said I was going to do this 3 times. This is the retrograde. It keeps being all over the place. But maybe you guys aren't thinking all over the place. Maybe I'm thinking I'm all over the place. But you guys are actually like, no, she's making sense. This is clear. All right. Okay. So we're getting to the world energy, the week of June 29th. So we're having a plateau with this pandemic. All right. It's going to be about a week long. It kind of started a couple days ago. I give it between 5 to 7 days. But the plateau of the pandemic is going to be followed by a swift change in the next 7 to 13 days. Be very, very careful after the next 7 to 13 days. This is mostly the southern coastal states. Okay, so I see something even spiking more than it did in the beginning. Okay, so this is crazy because people, once everything opened, I feel it opened in a retrograde. Now look, they're opening in a retrograde. The lawmakers should have got in touch with the astrologers before they decide what they were doing with this, because you're going to open in the middle of an eclipse and a Mercury retrograde and a pandemic. Like, are you crazy? It's not going to fly. It's going to be a disaster, which people just were like greyhounds out of the gate. No man. I heard something very disturbing the other day, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it because somebody told me this story, and I want you guys to be aware of it for your own safety, okay? There's a lot of people going to beach houses. There's a lot of people going to the beach, okay? I've heard of people getting it recently who've done that. So just be careful, number one. Number two, if you get invited somewhere, and this is a true story, this is what I was told the other day by someone, and a woman was inviting people to a beach house, which included young people, kids, college friends of the person. She is a nurse. This woman apparently is a nurse. I don't know this woman. This came from another source, a good source. She is a nurse who actually tests people for the virus before surgery or before, in the hospital. And apparently this young child had a cold that was going to be coming to this gathering, was tested positive. This nurse did not tell anybody that was invited to this coastal, to this house, to this beach house, did not feel like they needed to inform anybody because it was a minor case. Didn't tell anybody, didn't give them the choice whether to come or not come, just hid it from everybody. And this is somebody that works in a hospital on the front lines. I am appalled by what I heard, and I'm putting it out there because something like that can happen to you, where you're invited somewhere thinking you trust someone because they're in the medical field, and somebody's hiding the fact that somebody tested positive who's going to be at the gathering. So this really happened. You know what I mean? So you have to be careful. It's out there. There's people who, especially I feel mostly the southern coastal states, are going to be hit very hard. And those people are leaving Florida and going up to the north because we're in the hot weather. So more changes are going to be implemented in the south and southeast coasts. Okay, so this is what I'm feeling. Not so many changes to the west. So when I'm talking about all the laws and all the going green and yellow and stuff, all of these changes that I'm seeing with the pandemic, most changes are the southern coastal states and the southeast coasts, more south. And there's still concern on the west coast, but I don't feel as much concern. Texas, I see the state of Texas, I see red. So this is not good. I feel like another state of emergency. Something's happening down south in the middle of the country. The energy is on the rise. The good thing is that by the end of this eclipse on June 12th, I see the riot energy receding. So more violent energy receding, but the virus, it's like the whack-a-mole. Like one goes down, one goes up. Then something came to me. Southern California making an announcement for change on a policy or movement that is positive or celebrated. So some sort of celebration. I see clapping, Southern California. More announcements of federal aid coming in the next 2 weeks, which I feel are going to be positive on all fronts. Here's where I was talking about the article with the leadership issues, Mercury retrograde and Cancer. I feel campaign issues and agitation around politicians campaigning for office during the next 2 weeks. A lot of anger and adversity here, not on the part of the people, but on politicians themselves, citing unfairness on some level. So I see something affected by a state's water supply. Not drinking water, not sure what the water supply is, but I'm seeing something affected water supply. I also heard Philadelphia in distress. I'm not sure what that means. There could be some other lockdowns or something happening in Philadelphia where something gets a little out of control. Now, on the personal level, Following full moon and both eclipses, you should start now, especially from the last weekend till today, feeling a rebirth. So what you were all planning for and what I was just talking about, you should actually start feeling your feelings again. You might feel like you're more connected to the world, you're connected to people around you. Even if you're in a bad mood, you're starting to feel like you're experiencing some sort of connection. That's really awesome. It means you're starting to apply the tools, okay? You're feeling the beginning effects of the next level of consciousness, and you're on that higher vibration. If you're experiencing that, it means you've done the work, and now you're going to start actually feeling that connection to that higher vibration. We were on the ladder going up, you open the doorway, but if you start feeling those things, that means you are at the higher vibration and it's a rebirth happening for you. So if you're having this rebirth process, now remember, you have until July 7th to get up that ladder and get in with the rest of them. You'll notice the feeling of having more well-being, connection to the world around you, things you may not have noticed before. This amount will be dependent on the decisions of the past 2 weeks and how you've handled the breakthroughs that you were in line for. So if over the past month you had a total breakdown or breakthrough, or you just were feeling like so much upheaval and you've gotten through it, you're going to start to feel amazing, but only in little spurts, because you're like a little baby that just got reborn, going into the new consciousness. So you might have 5 minutes of this joy, of this connection, of feeling something where you've been numb for years, or depressed or anxious or whatever. You're starting to feel like the head and the heart are starting to center, starting to align. This is great. You will start also, if you're in this energy, to implement more practical tools of changes that you haven't been able to implement in the past. So let's say you have an anxiety issue, and most of the time you've been protecting yourself from that anxiety by not doing something, or not going somewhere, or being afraid to face that. Or let's say you have a depression issue where maybe when you're feeling depressed, you kind of stay in bed or isolate. Now, if you're going through the breakthrough and the rebirth, you might start to take actions against those things, and you're going to start seeing that your actions are actually going against how you're feeling inside, but on a more positive level. And you're going to see that you're starting to become more confident because the actions that you're taking are actually showing you that it's working, and you're starting to feel better. So you're taking actions against what your insides are saying. So let's say you have anxiety where you get agitated and you might lash out or yell at somebody. Some people going through this process of rebirth might feel it inside, might still feel that rage, but might decide to take 5 minutes time out and come back and communicate about it. You're applying action to the rebirth. So this is so exciting, because if you're starting to feel this, it means you've graduated to the new energy. You're at that high level of vibration, but the doorway's open. So before you're knocking on the door, you climb that ladder, and now you're like a little baby, and you're like, how do I walk? How do I talk? What do I do? Where are these words? You're experiencing the world in a whole different way. So these, like I said, are practical tools of changes that you haven't been able to implement in the past. This marks the beginning of physical, emotional, and spiritual changes on all levels. You've made your choices. Now you will feel some healing. You'll feel the beginning of the healing. Now, those of you that have not made those internal decisions need to do so now before July 7th, preferably when the energy threshold closes. So now is the time to start applying action to the new life that you're creating, and to implement the tools you've learned so that your outer experience changes. So even though you're experiencing that turbulence like you have before, those actions against that turbulence are going to cause your outer perception to change and your experience of the outer world to change, and not be so much in the inner world where you feel like you're trapped in that emotion. So remember, the change we're experiencing right now and that I want you to make is on the inner environment. So there's Facebook changes to notifications. So I want you to make sure you're still getting these webcasts. I don't know what they did, but I'm going to go over how you can make sure that you're still getting these posts and notifications. You have to kind of add it to your favorites or put your post notifications on, because they made some change which might not allow you to get my videos. So just be aware of that. So right now, if we've talked about the manifestation course in the past, that link is still up in the description box. So if you want to know when that's coming so that we can start to manifest in this new vibration, because I want you to follow your dreams. Now's the best time to do it. Give us your email. We'll send you information on that. And the email newsletter, I'm going to try to get that out today too. So your actions right now, you're going to tend to retain water, okay, because of this big shift that's going on. Take walks in nature, not on a treadmill or inside. Get outside for the energy as much as possible to move this energy through you. Reduce your carbs, heavy yeast, heavy breads, that kind of thing, and fried items. So you want to stay centered and in high vibration as much as you can while you move this water energy out. Your vibration. So those of you who are intuitive will start to notice the 2 different levels while encountering other people. This is really important. If everything I just told you made sense, and you're starting to feel a little bit of that healing, and you go out and you're encountering friends or loved ones, and you're starting to look around being like, their energy changed. It seems a little like their aura seems a little dirty, or they just look different. What's going on? And it feels weird. If you're experiencing this, it's hard for me to put words to it. They've decided to stay at a lower vibration. So I hate to say it, but you might be around people and you're like, they don't look the same as before. They look a little weird. They look a little angry. They look a little dark. Remember, I said there's going to be lower high. There's not going to be middle. So you're going to be really confused about that. I don't know if anyone's experienced that yet, but I have. But now's the time to stay away from that energy, because you don't want to be pulled down into that, because you just opened the door to the higher frequency. You need to take the time to learn how to walk in there first before you come back down the ladder. We don't want you coming back down the ladder. We want those people that are down in low vibration to get up the ladder before July 7th and move through the doorway with us. So love is on the forefront right now. Relationships, communicating, safety. So emotional safety, mental safety, physical safety. Safety in terms of having safe people around to communicate with you and to keep a soft environment, to reflect and to help you move through this healing time. So, that was a lot, wasn't it? I didn't expect to do so much there. Oh, I got to tell you about this Facebook change also, and tell you how you can make sure. But see, Mercury retrograde. I can't even log into my computer. Let's try again. So I just have to be patient. Okay, so if you like my page, and under following, there's like a little square box, select see first and select notification on posts, or you could select favorites and notifications on highlight posts. If you are on the page regularly, you comment, share, you'll probably get it more than most other people, but make sure that if you go to my page, I don't know what they're doing. It's new. They shouldn't be doing this in a retrograde. But you want to select see first, notifications on post, or select favorites and notifications on highlight posts. So hopefully that helps. All right, well, hopefully I'll see you guys at the porch midweek. Talk about manifesting and talk about stinking stuff we could do. This session of the office was a little intense, wasn't it? I hope it made sense for a lot of you, and I hope that some of you realize that most of the time I'm talking about stuff that I've struggled with in the past. I'm not lecturing to you and anything that I haven't gone through, so not judging, and certainly not talking about any one of you specifically, because people could get paranoid around this time and think that I'm singling them out, and I have no one in mind. I'm just getting information from the other side and talking about what you guys might be experiencing. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you feel that other people can benefit from this information, because it's really important right now, feel free to share it with some friends or someone you think might need it, because it just might be that one thing that gets someone up that ladder and on that high vibration with you. Maybe they don't know what to do. So it might be a little inspiring for someone to say, oh, maybe this is my sign. Maybe this is what I know. I know, Lori, it was very intense. I'm calming down. It's just I had to get it out. You know what I mean? I just had to get it out. I don't have any more energy left. So I'm just letting you guys know I don't have any more energy left. So we're practicing this stuff, right? Because I would think, oh, well, I'm Marisa the medium. I should have just everybody think that I have boundless energy. I don't want to let them know I have no more energy, but I don't. So you guys are just gonna have to like take what I gave you, and I'm gonna have to just get off soon and go drink some grapefruit juice or something. So, or hang out, whatever. Thanks for being here with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in a couple days. All right, have a good Tuesday. Bye.